Well, hello and welcome back, everybody, to the DanJohnUniversity.com podcast. I'm Dan John. This is episode 295. That's amazing to me. Listen, each and every week I sit down here and I answer your questions. If you have questions, please send them to us. We use this email address, podcast@DanJohnUniversity.com. Once again, we have great questions and it's kind of fun, and there's quite a few of them. But the nice thing about today's questions is that some of the questions are really easy answers. So what does the one person say that down there in the comments? I'll just be rambling way over and not getting to the point. So let me stop rambling and get to question one from Jimmy. And Jimmy is with an I. Jimmy asked this: I was wondering if you ever did the 10,000 hip thrust challenge that you talked about a while back. If so, what were the results? If not, is it worth it for me to try it, or is there a reason you don't try it, such as overtraining? Well, I did it. Yeah, in fact, I did it twice. And this would have been, as I speak, about a year ago at this time, because I finished them up when I was with Tim Anderson doing original strength workshops in England and Denmark. I did a little different. I did, for every hip thrust, I did a clamshell. I used Brett Contreras' glute loops, and I had, most of the time I did, for every hip thrust, I would do clamshells. My favorite one is this, where I do 15 hip thrusts, 15 clamshells, 14 hip thrusts, 14 clamshells, 13, 13, 12, 12, all the way down to 1-1. And I had the math figured out for that, and it worked out great. The goal, just like with the swing, was to get 500 a day. And between the two different kinds of numbers I use, it was really quite remarkable. Upsides: I can't tell you folks how wonderful it is. I had a busy travel schedule, but every day I did 500 hip thrusts and 500 clamshells. Now, maybe not all of you need the clamshells, but I've had some historical issues with my hips. So for me, I just found them wonderful. The other thing, Jimmy, is that for me and the way I'm built, doing hip thrusts really makes my lower back feel great. I just do them on the floor, as I often note at workshops. I always have my thumbs driven into the ground, so my palms in the back of my hand. So I'm not in this position. Instead, I'm in this position. I lock out the hip thrust and I bring it back down. I lock it out, bring it back down. A fun way to do the clamshells, is to stay in the up position for the clamshells. So you're in that glute bridge position, you do the 15. That is usually a good idea for 15 and 14. And frankly, I can't do it. Maybe I've done it a few times to 13 or 12, but the tension on the glutes is so high, I didn't. Is it a good thing to do? I will say this, for any of my road warriors out there, people who travel a lot, this is fantastic. Toss in some walking and some push-ups, and it's not perfect, but it's not bad. I was doing them before my lifting workouts. I was doing them before my rucking workouts. So it took me just a few extra minutes in the gym on a mat to get these in, or just on carpet too. But I loved it. I thought there was real value. Once you get to 20,000 swings, so that took, a couple months, I guess. You probably don't get the value anymore because, progressive resistance exercise. But to feel good, undo the damage of a lot of flights or car rides, to undo the damage of just life itself sometimes, I thought it was great. So, Jimmy, thank you. So the 10,000 swing challenge is great, but for those of you who just want to experiment with something, try the 10,000 hip thrust challenge. It's not hard to do, and it's not terrible. And for some of us, it might just be the thing that keeps you, well, for me anyway, it seemed to really help my walking stride. It was such a benefit for my lower back, which does ache sometimes after I travel. So for me, I put it in the win-win-win column. So thank you, Jimmy. Fun way to start off. We have a question from Eddie, and Eddie says, "Good morning, my favorite superhero, Dan John." Well, you're not supposed to know that I'm a superhero, but I don't wear a mask. I have been following you for years. I got most of all your books and I love them. Well, thank you. One of the many reasons I'm a fan of your work is your ability to think in real time about strength and conditioning outcomes and solve problems. I know you're into making big jumps in weight and add volume to increase the strength output. That being said, somebody made a comment that if a weight doesn't go up incrementally, no other tool will work for strength, such as adding more volume. You know, Eddie, and I didn't mention the person you quoted because I don't think that's true. This idea of adding, like, I don't know, half an ounce a day to your training might work good, but where in your life where in your life do things improve linear? Maybe you could look over your income over your lifetime and it would go like this, but I can almost guarantee that if you got really close, not year by year by year, but month by month by month, there would be a lot of, ups and downs, dips and dashes. Boy, I was just doing a workshop this last week and I was talking about, I think load is by far the easiest way to progress people. And the problem is because it's the easiest, it can also be an issue sometimes. Now, let's pull out Olympic lifters and powerlifters, okay? But I think you can change and make progress by switching reps and sets, like you mentioned a few times, Eddie, getting more volume in, cutting back on volume, by the way, is a really good way to get strong, and it all works. But I also like to shift exercises. I mean, if you really want to increase your bench press, stop benching with a barbell and start bench pressing with a machine. You'll notice almost immediately your lifts go up because the machine takes care of all kinds of issues for you. At least I found that to be true. So changing exercises is a great way to change your progressions. Maybe I shouldn't use bench press so quickly, but as you slide up in the family of lifts, but from something as simple as the deadlift to something a little bit more complex as the Olympic snatch, when you regress back down to the deadlift and maybe slide out to the snatch grip deadlift, you're going to find that things are very complementary with an E in there, not with an I. So I think you make progress, obviously, through load, easy one. Change in a volume, change in reps and sets, which aren't exactly the same thing. 5 sets of 5 is the same amount of volume as 1 set of 25, but most people would quickly figure out that it's real hard to use big weights on 1 set of 25. I also think we need to build in regressions and corrections. That's the idea of switching exercises when you see a gap or a need. I'm not sure why someone would say you can only get, and I got to be careful here, strength and conditioning outcomes by only adding load. It just seems very narrow, and it doesn't reflect the thousands of years that humans have been trying to improve in athletics. It's very hard to do anything in a linear fashion at a high quality. There are times, the old, there's a lot of cliches, was today the last day of today, live today like it's the last day of your life. That's a different way to look at linear progression, I guess. If I'd sure like to know exactly when I was going to die, because it would really help me with my investment strategies, I'll tell you that. I don't agree with it. I think it's a lot more, and I got to be careful. I was about to say it's more of a matrix, but the problem with the word matrix now is it has a connotation with the movies and stuff. But I do see it as much more as a rainbow. There's a lot of tastes and flavors to it, and no one option has ever worked historically to get people into elite performance, or which would obviously mean heavy lifts. Okay. I hope I did a good job answering that, Eddie. It doesn't even follow at the most low level of logic to me. But thanks for asking, okay? Much appreciated. We have a question from Simon, and Simon says, after 25 years of playing sport with little mobility, flexibility training, and intermittent strength training, I've started to experience lower back, sciatica pain, hip and shoulder problems. So 25 years of doing nothing that will make your whole body knitted together, and all of a sudden you get hurt. Wow, what could possibly have been the problem? I've been doing the original strength tonic workouts, and I find them very helpful. I've also been going to a kettlebell gym to learn the techniques, and now ready to start doing this from home. I'm hoping for some guidance on what you might recommend for a good program to help me with developing some strength, while at the same time helping with my back problems. My current equipment is 2x20 kilo kettlebells, a glute bridge machine, that's not bad, chin-up bar, and rings. Oh, I like this. I was thinking maybe your ABF with some additional hangs for shoulder health and glute bridges. What are your thoughts? Am I missing anything? If you go on Amazon, you can get a couple of my books. So you're talking about the armor building formula, but I also have a book over at Amazon called the Kettlebell Workout Companion. I've got a lot of ideas in there. But for you, I like what you've already figured out. I would strongly recommend the armor building formula for you, and I'm glad you added that as an option. With the following as your warm-up, I think you got to start hanging. I think everybody should hang. I noticed by your spelling that you're probably from the UK or one of the Commonwealth countries, and you do have a magazine there that basically, it seems like they take my podcast and then just write articles. I'm not going to mention the magazine, but it is kind of funny to keep watching things keep showing up not long after my podcast or one of my books. But with the chin-up bar, the hang, and we learned this from the Kauai study, is just marvelous for the shoulders. I am going to ask you not to do ring work too much for a while. Now, I do have something I do want you to do with the rings. I don't want you to do ring dips and stuff until those shoulder problems come around. Folks, there's nothing wrong with ring dips. I'm a big fan of them. But in Simon's case, I worry that the ring dips aren't going to be helpful for his shoulders. But what I would like you to do with the rings is I'd like you to do ring rows, ring T's, ring Y's, and even single arm rows, because I think those are fabulous for helping the shoulder. So we're going to help the shoulder by the hangs, and we're going to help the shoulder with the pulling actions on the rings. Armor building formula, if you can do it, fine. If your shoulders are in too much problem, go to the original. I'll be talking about this in my new book, but the original program was 5 double kettlebell cleans, 5 double kettlebell front squats, 4 double kettlebell cleans, 4 double kettlebell front squats, and then 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. When you first try it, maybe just do 3, 2, then build up to 5, 3, 2, and then go with the full 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 program. But take your time building up the volume. That's, even though it's only 15 front squats, you're kind of exhausted towards the end. The reason I want you to do that is I think that might be a real good way to armor up your lower back and open your hips and even loosen up your legs that might help with some of the other issues you're facing. I'm getting a little worried that I'm giving you medical advice. I don't think I am. I'm trying to stay in my own lane. But anybody listening, just as a reminder, don't wait 25 years to start dealing with your mobility work and any issues that might be coming from your sport. Okay? Thank you, Simon. Fun question. Thank you. We have a question from Chris. Chris says, hello, Dan. Thanks in part to you and one of your early podcasts, I set a bunch of goals for 2024 and tracked them closely throughout the year. I had a great year and I was able to accomplish many cool things, traveling much more than usual, eliminating alcohol, completing the 10K swing challenge, reaching the majority of the Southwood strength standards, and getting my financial life in much better shape. That's wonderful to read. The question I have is, How specific are you when setting fitness and strength goals? Do you set them in a format like lift X by target date, or do you prefer broader goals such as complete the program as designed or win a competition? So there's going to be two words I want to get to in a minute, but make sure we keep those separate. You're combining two concepts into one, which doesn't always work well. I'm 36 and I don't compete in any sports, but I've enjoyed getting stronger and genuinely like training. If I were to pick athletic goals, they likely to be arbitrary weightlifting numbers, which I'm okay with. Do you think I'd make better progress by chasing a specific goal, or would it be better to simply enjoy the ride? Okay, so folks and Chris, fitness goals are the ability to do a task. Performance is when someone says your name and you step up. So on my performance goals, my first goal always, like in a weightlifting meet, you get 3 attempts. My first attempt is to, stay in the competition. My first thought is stay in the competition. So, if I miss all 3 snatches or all 3 clean and jerks, it doesn't matter how good a shape I'm in, I'm out. Or to quote the guy from Parks and Recreation, I'm donezo. The second goal is to compete. So if I make my opener, the second goal is to look at who I'm competing against and what I need to do to either stay with or get ahead of them. If I'm in a good place, very often that third attempt will be to go for a record or to put enough distance between me and my competitors so that I can maybe not have a great clean and jerk day, for example. So performance goals are a little bit different. So let's just kind of push those to the side. When it comes to every other goal in my life, I don't use specific dates as much. Now, obviously right now I have a good coach and I'm on a very good program. My goals, there were some goals set for me and I enjoy it. Most of the goals are pretty simple. It's, there's nothing new under the sun, but, daily calories, keep it under a certain number. Daily walking total, keep it over a certain number. Try to get stronger in my 3 lifting sessions a week. Get good sleep. Take the measurements, do the picture. Nothing fancy there. But even in there, I still keep myself in a range. For me, the most important thing when it comes to financial goals or physical goals or, even relationship goals, family goals, try to keep yourself in a range. I am taking my whole family to Disneyland, but I try to be, I don't want to be the Disneyland dad, 364 days a year, I ignore my kids. And then one day a year, I'm super dad. I don't want to be that guy. Having said that, then I also want to make sure I try to talk to my daughters every single day. And it's a good thing. And I tell them every single time I talk to them, I love you. So for me, my dad goals are to interact with my daughters daily and let them know I love them and step up as I can. And occasionally be super dad, okay? When it comes to my fitness goals, it's pretty simple. I have a range of weights I try to stay between body weight. I'm happy to say right now I'm 5 pounds under my lower number of my range. And because very soon I'll be hopefully changing my range again. When it comes to my business, I have a range, I have a low number. And if I get below that number of profit, then I really work overtime trying to fix things to get back above that. I also have a top number. And if I hit that, I don't move it up. I just stick with that top number and just say, that's great. If I go over it, I save more money. I pay the people who work for me better. I try to enjoy the fact that business is going well. Now, obviously, if I get over that top number, 27 straight months, maybe it's time to realign things. But I take my time because I don't want to stress myself out. So right now, we'll use an older bumper number for me, okay? I wanted to stay between 231 and 239. This morning I weighed 213. So with that old number, if I went on a road trip, and this happens to me all the time, go to Las Vegas, go to North Carolina, go to Europe, come home from the trip and I weigh 246. That's above it. Okay, I do the things I need to do to get back to that 239, 238, 237 number. So that's how I do it personally. On the financial side, I have a group that meets every Saturday. It's our financial inner circle, and we're very financial intentional community. And we get together on purpose to work with each other, share ideas, talk about things, and make sure we're all on path. For my physical goals, every day at 9:30, people show up from all over the world to train with me. And if I eat smart, sleep well, walk, do the little things, it's real easy for me to achieve my goals. So my goals in competition are a lot more specific. My goals for the other areas of life, they're not vague at all, but there's a range, and I think that's the most important thing. I talk about this in the Armor Building Formula book, I think, and if not, I'll make sure I add it to the next one, okay? Thank you. Very fun question. And for yourself, Chris, when it comes to, I say like you want to bench 300 pounds, okay? And right now you're benching 225. I would suggest obviously you want to get to that goal, but if you just say to yourself, well, I'm not gonna miss 6 weeks of training unless there's a surgery or something like that. But just keep building up those numbers so that, once you get to 250, kind of tell yourself, well, I'll never bench less, than 215 or something like that. And just keep nudging both of those numbers up over time. And one day, amazingly, boom, you get your goals. So thank you. We have a question from Tim. My brother and I are big fans of your podcast and training philosophy. We've wondered, what is your secret oatmeal recipe? Oh, I don't know if I can share this. Okay. Yes. Does it involve fermenting them? No. Super interested to know how you incorporate so many fermented foods into your diet. Well, let's answer the fermented ones. You'll be stunned how easy it is to make your own sauerkraut. I often work too hard on it and add some other stuff, but honestly, you take mason jars, you chop up cabbage, you smash it with your hands with a tiny bit of salt, then you stuff that cabbage into the mason jar and you close them. I have these little pre-made nipples that allow the gases to drop out, but it's really simple. If you don't have the pre-made ones every day, you just take the lid and go and you let some of the air out. I don't know what happens if you don't do that, but that's what they say to do. I also go to the Korean market over here and the Chinese market over there, and I buy their various kimchis. Fermented food and cabbage, been around a long time. My oatmeal recipe, very scientific, okay? I like to get fairly raw oatmeal. Now, not steel cut. I tried it. It's not very good. And I'm sorry. What I then do is I take it. I usually use those Pyrex bowls. You fill it up about 2/3 and experiment with this. Don't overdo it the first time. And then over at the store, I get these, it's a 3-seed mix with chia, sesame seed, and red flax. I got them all. And I sprinkle some of that in there, sometimes a little bit too much. And then I sprinkle cinnamon on it. I have discovered it's much better to mix the dry ingredients first. And then once I've done that, I buy Premier Protein vanilla from Costco, and I pour 1, 2, or 3 of them, depending on how much. And you stick it in the fridge overnight. And when you show up the next day, it just, all the seeds expand, everything expands. And you really do have a delicious oatmeal. Some people I know call it overnight oats. I like mine a lot firmer, so I can just shovel it in. I don't need a bowl, I can just put it on a plate. It probably will take you 1, 2, maybe even 3 times to get it the way you want it, but I think you're going to enjoy it, okay? Great question, and I enjoyed that. Thank you. This is kind of a fun question for a number of reasons, but Brandon says this. You wrote Mass Made Simple, right? Easy Strength, yes. And Armor Building Formula, right. Each focuses on a different aspect of physical training: mass, strength, and hypertrophy. How are these 3 aspects woven together for all-around fitness? Well, it's interesting you say that, because I'm also thinking in the back of my mind, I've written books on kettlebells and discus throwing, and I've written articles on King Arthur and Beowulf. How do I knit everything together is, it's a phrase I use way too much, but this is important. If I was working with you as an American football player or as a rugby player, probably the first program I'd get you on after we kind of organize things a little bit with you, teach you all the basic moves, but at least once or twice a year, we would do the full Mass Made Simple program. And the reason mass is so important to collision sports, it's an old joke we have in American football. Everybody slows down as the game goes on, but nobody gets smaller. Mass has great value in many things in life. I would also then, when we move into certain periods of the year, during the season especially, where we want to keep strength up as easily as we can, I would move to easy strength. Now, some people say, well, you're having the athletes lift 5 days a week. Well, yeah, but we're talking about 5, 15 to 20-minute sessions lifting, not 5 5-hour sessions. And right before the season, I would sprinkle in the armor building formula. There is a conditioning aspect to the ABF, both the barbell and kettlebell program. It does seem to prepare you for the hits in the games. This is the feedback I get from my athletes. But I did this years ago, and I know it's in one of my books, where I gave a full overview of how to train an American football team. And it comes out basically is that right after that Christmas, so American football is a fall sport unless it's the NFL. But right after the Christmas and New Year's, we would maybe take a week or 2 to break back into getting ready for training. It could be something as simple as a plank program, general bodybuilding. And then after that, we'd maybe even run our first Mass Made Simple program. It's still deep winter. I've always found it easy to put weight on people in the winter. You get them as big and as strong as you can. And then right after maybe 1 or 2, just 1 round of Mass Made Simple, we would slide to easy strength. When we slide to easy strength, I would also recommend you maybe work on a sprint program. It's also track and field season. Get them out in track and field, get them running. And once we get to that, so it's easy strength and the sprint work. If we do have a spring football time, I would slide right back to easy strength. And the moment spring training is over, we assess, we look at things, and let's just make it a general thing. Everyone on the team needs to get bigger. So we'll do Mass Made Simple for the second time, which will carry us into maybe June. Once June hits, it's time to condition for the season. It'll be armor building formula time. And then once the season sneaks up on us, we slide back to an easy strength protocol and just do our best to stay as healthy as we can. I don't know if you can work every quality all the time. I know it can be done badly. I've never seen it done well. So that's why I always like to have an emphasis. As I'm reading this today, I'm working with my throwers, and we've just, finished, 9 months of a system I called Fit Goes Far. It means that we're getting in shape to throw far. And then when the season sneaks in, track and field season, that's when we slide over to Smooth Goes Far. My better throwers realize that once the season starts, breaking personal records in the weight room and throwing far at the track meets at the same time is really hard. So you got to pick and choose when you're chasing the bigger weights and when you're chasing the bigger throws. And I think that's a truism about everything. It's real hard to chase. If you chase two rabbits, you go home hungry. And the most important thing, Brandon, is to, be a little bit of a sniper and say, this is the time of year to do this. And maybe 6 to 8 weeks later, good, we did that. Now it's the time to do this. Okay. Fun question, and I hope I answered it well. So thank you so much. Our next question is from Steve, and I know Steve. First, thanks for all the great guidance you provide in your books and podcasts. I read your Easy Strength Omni book multiple times, and now I'm going through the armor building formula for the second time. What I have discovered is that I find such hope and positivity in your words as they provide me with a little extra motivation to continue to show up and do the work. Well, thank you. He's a 58-year-old male, elite master athlete in swimming. He swims 3 to 5 days a week, lifts 2 to 3 days a week. His home gym has, other than a low ceiling, he has kettlebells, barbells, and dumbbells, a squat rack, an incline bench, pull-up bar. Strength training has been an important part of my overall training for 15 plus years. I've recently had major abdominal surgery, sorry to hear that, that has put an absolute halt to any level of training. While I don't know when I'll be able to get back to where I was before surgery, I hope I'll be able to start slow sooner than later. I will follow doctor's instructions as much as I can with a goal to be back racing in my previous levels by 2026. And like every master athlete ever says, he'll be in an older age group. As a master athlete, folks, there's no better joy than hitting certain birthdays, depending on how your sport counts it. But it's, like 65 is great because you're the youngest person in the 5-year group. I'm not far from 70, and I'm looking forward to already. I'm already looking at the world records and American records, and here we go. On to my question. With my understanding of easy strength and learning the details of armor building formula, I'm curious if either of these programs or another you might suggest would help me return to prior levels of strength in the most efficient and effective way possible. Again, I would only be looking to start a program once I feel I'm ready to do so. I'm so glad to hear that. After I get past the initial healing and whatever time I'll need to gain confidence. That's good. He's concerned about being ready to get back into training. I'm just going to say this. Since you're 58, I'm going to ask you not to pursue either of those programs, even though they're just fine. What I'd rather you do as a post-55 athlete is I'd like you to think about lean body mass and joint mobility. So I think original strength. I think I went over it with some of you, but I love original strength for mobility work. The floor work, prone position, the 6-point position, doing the cross crawls today and the egg rolls after certain lifts. I just feel good after my workouts. But I would like you to do something on the lifting side. I'd like you to do a general bodybuilding program. Now you could do three whole body workouts a week. I have some of that. In fact, I think I have it in Easy Strength Omni book, and I'm pretty sure I have it in the armor building formula. But in your case, Steve, I wouldn't even mind that you use machines for, say, 6 to 8 weeks after you get the thumbs up approval from your doctor and your physical therapist or whatever team you're working with. Just go in and use machines, and especially with an abdominal issue, I don't necessarily want to sprint in to workouts that are going to challenge where the injury was. The nice thing about, leg extension, leg curl, row, tricep extension, lat pull down, bench, shoulder press, the row machine. I just used a row machine. I was on a road trip and they had a row machine, not a rowing machine, but a weightlifting row machine. And I was shocked how sore I was here the next day. I had no idea. I would push, the standard, the classic 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10 stuff for maybe 6 to 8 weeks. If there's, pick out, if you go to a gym and there's 8 or 9 machines, pick them out. I know you have a great home gym. But in that first 6 to 8 weeks, I'd like you to invest in an inexpensive gym membership. Go there 3 days a week. One thing I'd like you to do, I mean, I don't know what kind of gym it's going to be, but if you could do like I do. I do my original strength between each set of bodybuilding exercises I do, because my thought is, as I build the strength here, I want to make sure I keep the mobility in the joints. So that's my recommendation to you. Pick 7, 8, 9 machines. You can go, there's a number of ways you can use machine training. All of them are going to be fine. Slowly nudge those weights. Funny with machines, the weights go down, right? You add on the pins, you go down to get stronger. So slowly move those pins down. Take your time, get the pump, enjoy the feeling. Try to walk out of the gym feeling better than when you walked in, okay? And you have my phone number and all my other information. So if that's not clear enough, reach out to me, Steve, and we'll help you out, okay? Thanks so much. Okay, well, this is fun. Eric, who's a member of my inner circle, asks, my son John has asked me about weight training. He plays football, basketball, and baseball. I want to create a program for him this summer. I am trying to decide between armor building formula for barbells or the Southwood program. What do you think would be the easiest to ramp up, or do you have another suggestion? So I'm guessing he's kind of a high school kid if he's playing 3 sports, or even middle school. The Southwood program is still my go-to. I'm going to add a few things to it, but let me explain it to the listeners. So it's 4 exercises. I learned this in 1971, and it's a program I've been doing ever since. I use it for all middle school athletes I train. The rep schemes, you keep the weight, the barbell, at the same load until you can do this. You do a set of 8, you do a set of 6, you do a set of 5. If you can handle that, the next workout, you put 5 pounds on, which is 2.5 pounds on each side. If you're using kilos, you could probably get away with 1 kilo on both sides, and it's going to work out just about the exact same. So if I get the 8, if I get the 6, and I get the 4, next workout, we go up. All right, now the program. It's 4 exercises. It's the power clean, the military press, the front squat, and the bench press. I would also consider adding the suitcase carry as best you can to this program. But even though it's a short program, and after about 3 weeks, you're going to have to make some adaptions. And I have those adaptions in my book, Never Let Go. But you can also go to T-Nation and find the article. Just type in Southwood program. I'm sure it'll pop right up somewhere. And you're going to have to, after 8, 6, 4, for about 2 or 3 weeks, you slide over 5 sets of 5 in those exercises. And then I always add the deadlift. So power clean, military, front squat, bench press, and then deadlift. And then every 5th workout, so works out to about once every 2 weeks. Instead of doing 5 sets of 5, you do a set of 5, add weight, a set of 3, and then you have to make the double. And that'll get you through the whole summer. It's a great program. It's not complex. It's fairly simple. But I got to tell you, all my gentle listeners, it works, and it's a good program. Especially for the younger, the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old athlete. It's a really good program. It's very complimentary, again, with an E, not an I. It's a very complimentary program with sports. You don't get too jacked up doing any of the exercises. And the other thing is, it's a foundation to learn all the power lifts and all the Olympic lifts over time. So it's not bad. Wow, that was easy for me. So that's episode 295 in the books. Remember, if you have questions, podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. Each and every week I sit down and answer questions. Today was fun. We had a lot of interesting questions. And until next time, let's all keep on lifting and learning. Thank you.